Hey there, Pizza Pal. It's Meltvin, your friendly neighborhood slice of cheesy wisdom, here to kick off this episode of One Slice at a Time, the only podcast where your travel dreams are always served hot, cheesy, and occasionally a little unpredictable, like a mystery topping you didn't order but end up loving. Today, Ryan and Stephanie are talking about the brand new Disney Destiny cruise ship, which officially launched in November and is already making waves in the Disney Cruise Line fleet. So grab a slice, grab a seat, loosen your belt one notch, and let's dig into whether this new ship is thin crust familiar or a bold new recipe straight out of Disney's kitchen. Take it away.
Welcome back to One Slice at a Time. I'm Ryan, travel advisor, lifelong Disney fan, and someone who genuinely believes you can tell a lot about a vacation by how badly you don't want it to end. And that same rule is going to apply to pizza too.
Of course it does. And I am Stephanie. I'm also a travel advisor. And on this show, we break down destinations, ships, and travel experiences so you can decide which trips are actually worth carving out time for and which ones are just empty calories.
Every week, we take one travel topic, layer it with stories, advice, and probably too many food metaphors, and serve it up in a way that actually helps you think about what kind of traveler you are.
And last week, we completely changed things up and we did a full Would You Rather episode.
There were strong feelings. There were alliances. There were moments that probably shouldn't be played back in court.
I'll edit those out.
Perfect.
This week, we're back to some very tangible, very current, and very Disney, of course, because today we're going to talk all about the Disney Destiny, the newest ship in the Disney Cruise Line fleet.
Right. And Maggie and I just sailed on it. And I can honestly say the ship didn't just meet expectations, it reworks the recipe. And Maggie and I did the maiden voyage in November. So it was really exciting. Yeah. Now, one of the really interesting things about the Disney Destiny is where it fits in the fleet. It's sailing primarily out of Fort Lauderdale, mostly on shorter itineraries. That means 3 or 4 or 5 nights. And that makes it just a phenomenal option for people who are new to cruising, new to Disney Cruise Line, or just want something kind of high end without committing to a full week.
It's a really important point because for short cruises, they used to kind of feel like sampler platters, like, here's a taste, hope you come back later. But Disney has really reframed that question. Like some of the other ships, Destiny doesn't feel like a sample. It feels like a full course. It's just served a little faster.
That's right. And Disney isn't cutting corners with the short sailings either. Instead, I feel like a Disney cruise is just part of your week-long vacation. These short sailings are simply jam-packed, and other cruise lines are beginning to offer the same type of short cruises. All of this is especially true, though, when you're sailing out of Florida, where there are tons of other things to do to round out a full vacation. Disney World, beach, Universal Parks, etc. It's like ordering a few slices of a whole pie and then realizing halfway through that this might actually be your new favorite pizza slice.
And shorter itineraries also open the door to people who've always wanted to try Disney Cruise Line but didn't know if it was really their thing. So this is a lower risk, high reward way to find out.
Right. And there's tons of options on the Wish, on the Destiny, and some of the other ships too. So if you've been on the Wish or you've been on the Treasure, the layout of the Destiny is going to feel familiar as the ship is laid out exactly the same. You'll notice it as soon as you walk into the Grand Hall. Same dramatic scale, same moment where the DCL team member announces your name. You stop, you look up, and just as you'll know from other Disney ships, you're going to realize that Disney definitely did not skimp on the cheese when it comes to Disney Destiny.
That is right. But thematically, it's completely different. The Wish is Cinderella, very royal and very elegant, where the Destiny is Black Panther, not just pretty, but heroic in nature.
And it needs to be because there's villains everywhere on the Destiny. Cruella even has her own bar, and some of the villains have meet and greets with lines that go on seemingly forever. But back to the Grand Hall, there's the signature statue, Black Panther, on this ship. It's Cinderella on Wish. From a decor point of view, though, their artwork is great throughout the ship. You could make a whole day just out of going from stairwell to the, and just checking out all the different artwork. It's spectacular.
Fun. One of our most fun things to do on every Disney ship. Usually they all have sort of like a scavenger hunt that's interactive that actually includes the artwork. But the artwork on these Disney ships is amazing.
Absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt this beautifully baked conversation, but I must perform my official duties as a sentient slice of wisdom. Friendly reminder, everyone, Ryan and Stephanie are professional travel advisors. They don't just talk about trips, they design them, book them, and help people avoid vacations that feel like cardboard crust, which also means it's time for Ryan's Crusty Review.
All right. So this week on the Crusty Review, I live in Port St. Lucie, Florida. I've probably mentioned it a time or two on the show,
Once.
but I'm bringing it up today because if you were to go on the Disney Destiny sailing out of Fort Lauderdale and then decide, hey, let's go to Disney World afterwards. Well, in order to do so, you're going to drive up 95 and you're going to go straight through my little town. So here in Port St. Lucie, you're going to find Francesca's, a fun little spot about 10 minutes off of 95. Francesca's was recently on Guy Fieri's Best Bite in Town show on the Food Network. And it's a place that I love for a lot of reasons. They're into pizza, they're not overpriced, and I have never had to wait for a table. It's like casual joint as opposed to the upscale pizza places that I also happen to love. But I'm not always in the mood for those upscale places. So Francesca's is like perfect for that casual night out. They're also not focused on 38 other Italian dishes. They do pizza, maybe some wings, and the normal appetizers. It's good, and I love it. But for like a Monday night or something like that, I even went on my birthday earlier this month. Solid 6 out of 8 on the scale. There you have it.
There you have it.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about a couple of spaces that absolutely deserve their own spotlight when it comes to the Disney Destiny. We're talking about the Haunted Mansion Bar and the Cruella.
Those were the two that you would not stop talking about.
Yeah, there's some other bars and stuff, but these are the two. They're unreal. The Haunted Mansion Bar might be one of the most immersive Disney Cruise Line experiences that they've done. If you're wondering about the layout, no, it's true. But if you're wondering about, the layout, it's in the same place that the Star Wars bar is on the Disney Wish. So in that way, it might feel familiar because it's the exact same shape and the same location. Of course, the theming is totally different. If you're a fan of the ride, there are so many different nods. And I would say you really need to spend about 45 minutes in the bar to see everything, because as time goes on, you might order your drink, you're sitting there having a sip, but the music is going to change. There's going to be Madame Leota that you'll hear, and you just need to hang out to get the full experience. They also turned ordering a drink into like a minor attraction because they have like this secret items that are on the menu, but you need to like solve riddles and stuff in order to get the secret menu to pop up on their digital display. So pretty cool.
That is so Disney. They always take something that could be ordinary and then they layer over the top of it. So from a planning perspective, it's huge because it's not just going to the bar to have a drink. It's a whole experience and memory.
That's right. And, you're sitting there and the people are getting up around and saying, excuse me, do you mind? I want to take a picture of that thing that's right behind you. And then you realize there's something cool right behind you. Like it's happening the whole time you're in there. And then you go like 10 feet down the hallway and you go to Cruella's. It's totally different energy there. There's a piano in the middle. It's stylish. It's dramatic. It's bold. It feels like you should either drive incredibly well dressed or immediately accept that you have lost the fashion battle.
Cruella's feels like a space that people will intentionally build into their cruise. Like we're meeting here before dinner. Like it's not just background noise. Did these spaces get crowded though during your cruise?
There was almost always a sign outside both bars that said at capacity. So you have to use a little strategy when you want to go to these places. Like you got to think about, okay, when will they not be busy? Let me go then. Like during a show, during one of the Broadway shows or whatever, you can go there if you're not at dinner or whatever. So you just got to use a little bit of logic, find out what time they open, kind of get there at that time, and in order to like really maximize your experience there.
Ryan, tell us more about like the entertainment on the ship.
As always, the Destiny delivered on entertainment, especially the new Hercules show. Hercules is one of those movies that I kind of missed it when I was growing up as a kid. And maybe it came along just like past my Disney era as a child. But as an adult, I've really grown to appreciate the franchise. And this show surprised me. It was great energy, great staging, great soundtrack, and a lot more heart than I expected. It was phenomenal.
That stood out to me when you said it because that's not nostalgia talking. It's the show actually holding up.
Yeah, exactly true. Like if this was an Aladdin show, like there would be some nostalgia for me. Like that is kind of like my jam.
It could be trash, but it's still good, right?
Exactly. Exactly. This has to be good because I don't have that like emotional link to Hercules like I do some of the other ones. Yeah. And I think, you mentioned it earlier, but this was the first time I saw like this scavenger hunt thing that they did. And they did it with Haunted Mansion, where you can take your MagicBand and you're wandering the ship and you're finding stations and you're uncovering ghosts and you're getting clues. It's a whole interactive experience. This was the first time I saw this on a ship, and I've been on the Magic and I've been on the Wish. I think you've been on the Fantasy. Have you seen it there?
And yep, they have a detective agency thing on the Fantasy, and the Wish then has built-in type of scavenger hunt as well. I don't remember the name of one though, but yeah.
But this one's Haunted Mansion themed, and it's pretty fun.
Love it.
It's pretty fun.
Love it. This is really a big deal because even for us on like a shorter sailing, this activity gave us something to do in our very little downtime, but it's something we can keep coming back to. And there's just like a surprise around every corner. It also helps you kind of find your way around the ship. So,
and you don't have to do it in one sitting, which was great, because for us, there were 10 ghosts to find, or maybe it was 9. So on our sailing, we were like, okay, well, we got to do about 3 per night. That's kind of how we figured it out. So we would do it. And like, if it kind of tells you where to go, like deck 6 mid. And we're like, well, we'll be there in a couple hours. We don't have to go out of our way to get there.
You have to rush over there. Yep.
Yeah. So then there's the Aquamouse, which people are going to know from the other cruise ships. We rode it a few times, and one of our standing rules is always coming back early on the private island days so that we can get on the Aquamouse and ride it when the lines are short. Low wait time, turn a good ride into a great one.
Right. And that's such a great pro tip because that's kind of a thing people don't think about. They assume the ship is kind of done or closed on island days. But especially if you're on a sailing and doesn't really include, a stop that you want to get off on, stay on the ship, check it out, ride the Aquamouse a few dozen times. Right.
Yeah. And we found ourselves like we rode the Aquamouse on the Wish, but I guess it had been long enough. I know the imagery and the cartoon is a little bit different on this one.
Right.
But there were a couple of points where we were delighted, kind of got like surprised by things, and it made us laugh. Yes. So whenever, you can have that like little small delight, it's amazing. So now from dining, I want to say that Maggie and I went to Enchanté, which meant we missed one of the rotational dining. So we missed the Marvel dinner show. We saw a Marvel dinner show on the Wish when we did that, but we missed the one that was on this sailing. Enchanté by itself, though, was incredible. Like Maggie got like the multi-course experience where I said, sir, I will take the entree, the cheese course, and the dessert course. Maggie got the whole thing. It was like 11 courses or something like that. Wow. Incredible, beautiful pool, impeccable service, a very fine dining experience. But
that is definitely not a first timer Disney Cruise Line move there.
I exactly. And to be completely honest, I don't recommend that people go to Enchanté or Palo or any of those places if it's their first time on a Disney Cruise Line ship, or it's their first time on the specific ship. So if you're new to Disney Cruise Line or you're new to a ship, I always say you do the rotational dining because That's part of the magic. The energy, those shows, that's the core Disney Cruise Line experience. So until you've been on a couple of times, I don't recommend going to one of these fine dining experiences and missing out on the included experience. But
Right.
I will say it was pretty awesome. So
I
a
bet.
specialty slice. Yeah.
That is such an important distinction because there's like best restaurant and then there's best restaurant for this trip or best restaurant for this stage of your travel life. And Destiny really seems to be offering both.
Yeah, that's right. And I think a lot of the cruise ships, the Disney cruise ships do.
Too.
But I want to make that really clear that, we spent, a couple $100 there and you don't need to be
Right.
doing it. So
Not required.
that's right. That's right. Overall, though, the Disney Destiny feels like a ship that knows exactly what it is. It's familiar enough to feel like Disney Cruise Line, bold enough to justify having its own name and its own experiences.
This feels like a great fit for first-time Disney Cruise Line clients, Marvel fans, Haunted Mansion fans, and people who want a cruise that feels like an experience. It's not just transportation from port to port.
That's right. If Haunted Mansion is your jam, if Hercules is your jam, if the Black Panther is your jam, this is your ship built for you. And next week is going to be a very special episode of the show because
Next week is going to be my birthday episode.
oh, that's so funny that our lives were planned in such a way that we both have January birthdays. And it
doesn't
means
surprise
I
me at
get
all.
to, I feel like I have to share the spotlight
Ha
for
ha
once.
ha.
There you go. So make sure
For
you're
sure.
subscribed. And
That
Stephanie,
is.
since your birthday's coming up, why don't you tell us what's
Well, all this talk about cruise ships and Broadway style shows and secret menus, I think I want pizza. Just the kind where you like don't talk. You just sit there and nod and eat. That's the kind of pizza I want tonight.
that's some good pizza, right? The highest compliment
All
a
right.
slice can get is when you just don't even want to talk.
Yep, you're just chewing.
Yes.
All right, guys, have a great week. Bye.
That's a wrap on today's Slice, friends. Big thanks for hanging out with Stephanie, Ryan, and me, Meltvin, as we served up a recipe for fun on the Disney Destiny. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a slice. And if you're ready for some stress-free trip planning magic, reach out to Stephanie and Ryan. They've got you covered like extra cheese. Before you go, make sure to check the show notes for all the links. If you enjoyed today's episode, leave us a review. It helps more Pizza Pals find the show. Until next time, stay saucy, stay cheesy, and keep traveling the world one slice at a time.